That's company property, Mason. That's stealing. I was still holding the feeder mouse, still halfway through scanning the damn thing when she barked it out across the register like she was Judge Judy on steroids. Two customers froze mid-conversation in the cat food aisle. One of them actually gasped like we were filming some reality show. Name's Mason Brooks, by the way. 45 years old, been working at this pet store for 20 years. Yeah, 20 years of my life dedicated to this place, and now I'm being called a thief over a $5 mouse. I blinked. The mouse squirmed in its little plastic container, completely unaware it had just been promoted from snake food to evidence in Chloe's daily power trip. I said nothing, not because I agreed with her nonsense, but because when you've worked retail for 2 decades, survived 3 different owners and more managers than I can count, you learn real quick that arguing with the clipboard crowd only feeds their ego. So I just stood there, let her slap that right up on the counter like she was serving me divorce papers. Her pen scratched across the paper with the smug satisfaction of someone who'd never cleaned snake cages at 6 a.m. or dealt with a sick iguana on Christmas Eve. Theft, she underlined it twice like that $5 mouse was the Hope Diamond or something. I signed it. Had no choice, really. Refuse and they call it insubordination. Contest it and suddenly you're being difficult. So I took it, took her smirk, took the whispers from customers who probably thought I was some desperate old guy stealing pet food. I went to the break room, sat on that rickety metal chair next to the mop sink. 20 years of work, and now I was the mouse thief. Time to find out what was really going on here. Let me tell you about Chloe Sterling, fresh out of some management training program, 29 years old, armed with nothing but corporate buzzwords and a shiny name tag. She'd transferred from another store about 3 weeks earlier, floating in on a cloud of hand sanitizer and motivational quotes about synergy and team optimization. From day one, I could smell trouble. The ambition, the insecurity, the desperate need to prove herself by stepping on anyone who looked like an easy target. And me? Well, I was perfect. Older guy, set in my ways, comfortable with my routine. In her eyes, that made me lazy. Day 2 of her reign, she asked why the turtle tanks didn't have digital inventory tags. I told her, because turtles don't scan themselves. She didn't find it funny. Day 4, she audited my feeding logs and wrote me up for putting Grumpy in the temperament section for one of our snapping turtles. It was accurate, but apparently not professional documentation standards. Day 8 was the mouse incident. After I left the break room that day, I found out she'd already updated next week's schedule. Cut my hours by 12, moved me exclusively to register duty. No more back room, no more animal care, no more of the work I'd been doing for 2 decades. Was being moved to the front like some kind of problem employee they needed to keep an eye on. Here's what really got under my skin. She didn't write me up because she thought I actually stole anything. She did it because she wanted everyone else to watch. Fear spreads faster than kennel cough, and she knew it, so I played along, took the register shifts, smiled at customers, bagged dog food like I hadn't just been kicked in the gut with a clipboard. But I also started watching and waiting. While Chloe strutted around optimizing workflows and locking the inventory tablets in her office for security, I noticed things. Small things. A snake counted twice in the same shipment log. A delivery marked DOA that I'd seen moving around just fine an hour earlier. Line items that disappeared after her night shifts. I didn't get angry. I went home, opened up an old notebook, and wrote one word across the top of the first page. Evidence. Because if Chloe wanted to play games, I'd give her a game. Just not the kind she expected. The first time I saw a gecko labeled "Arrived Deceased" wink at me 2 hours later, I figured it was a mistake. Computer glitches happen. Maybe someone clicked the wrong drop-down menu. Lord knows our store software looked like it was coded in 1995. But then it happened again. A shipment of feeder rats came in, 15 counted, 12 logged. 3 arrived dead, Chloe announced without even checking the containers. I was in the back when they unloaded that shipment. All 15 were squeaking, crawling over each other like they knew they had a date with destiny. Not one dead rat in the bunch. That's when I started taking pictures. Just quick shots with my phone, nothing obvious. Pretended I was checking shipping labels or taking photos for social media posts. Nobody questioned it. After all, I was just the old mouse thief, invisible and irrelevant. Chloe had taken over all vendor check-ins to streamline the process. She'd lecture about corporate oversight and chain of custody procedures, then lock herself in the stockroom with delivery guys and handle everything alone. Kept the inventory tablet with her at all times like it was Fort Knox. One evening, I was cleaning a broken bird cage in aisle 6 when I heard the back door open. Not the usual metal-on-metal screech. This was careful, quiet. I peeked around a display of dog beds just in time to see Chloe hand a plastic container with 2 young corn snakes to some guy in a leather jacket. He passed her a folded stack of bills. No receipt, no paperwork, no nothing. I didn't confront her, didn't gasp or run or pull some TV detective nonsense. I just noted the time and took a photo of the empty shelf after they left. Next morning, those 2 snakes were listed in the system as never arrived. That's when Logan Hayes, one of our newer guys, barely 21 and still believing in fair workplace policies, leaned over while we were stocking rabbit food and whispered, "I saw her sell snakes straight from the delivery, cash only." My spine went cold. It wasn't just me seeing this. I wasn't paranoid. I was paying attention. Chloe made herself busy that day, announcing new security protocols and inventory accountability measures. Meanwhile, she stood in front of a tank full of fish nobody had ordered, pretending to care about water quality. That night, I went home and made 3 columns in my notebook: date, animal, Chloe's story. I was ready for the next shipment. When it came, I watched her receive a crate of exotic frogs. 4 listed on the invoice, only 2 made it into our tanks. One of the missing ones had this distinctive blue stripe down its back. I remembered it because it looked like someone had painted it with a highlighter. 2 days later, I found that exact same frog listed on Facebook Marketplace by some reptile enthusiast. Same stripe, same tank background. You could even see part of our price tag in the photo. I screenshot everything, printed it, filed it. By this point, I wasn't even mad anymore. I was building a case. Chloe was betting that nobody cared enough to check, that retail workers would either quit or keep quiet rather than investigate a missing $30 lizard. And honestly, she wasn't completely wrong. The other staff were scared of her. Parker Wells, our assistant manager, just avoided conflict altogether. Logan had already been counseled for questioning vendor paperwork. Everyone was walking on eggshells, and Chloe was tap dancing on them. So I got quieter, not submissive, quieter. Started saying things like, "Good point," and "Thanks for clarifying" when she barked orders. Meanwhile, I kept documenting everything. Printed shipping manifests, photographed every tank before and after deliveries, cross-referenced what came in with what went missing. There were too many coincidences. A batch of hamsters marked dead from transport stress, but one had a distinctive chewed ear that I recognized in a Craigslist ad the next day. Same bite mark, same coloring. I printed that too. The stack of papers in my bedroom closet started growing. Photos, receipts, inventory logs, all sorted by date and cross-referenced. Every night I'd review them like I was studying for the most important test of my life. The best part? She had no idea. Still called me old-timer behind my back, still made jokes about watching how I handled the register after the incident. Let her think I was broken, that she'd won. I wasn't fighting back. I was building a case. The tarantula situation was the last straw. It wasn't even mislabeled. Someone had moved it from the secure enclosure to a regular display tank. Probably Chloe herself, who'd been reorganizing the exotic section that morning after her usual coffee run. But when that spider got loose for about 10 minutes before we caught it, guess who got blamed? Just after closing, Chloe stormed out of her office holding the container like it was a live grenade. This is how people end up in the ER, Mason. You're lucky we don't fire you on the spot. Lucky. That word landed like a slap. 20 years of never missing a shift, never calling in sick without coverage, once finishing a day with a broken finger because we couldn't leave the animals unattended. But now I was lucky not to be fired over a spider that didn't even bite anyone. I didn't argue, just wiped my hands on my apron and nodded. Won't happen again. Then I clocked out, drove home, and sat in my driveway listening to the engine cool down while my hands gripped the steering wheel. This wasn't about the tarantula. It wasn't even about me. Chloe was escalating, getting bolder and nastier, and I knew why. She was getting desperate behind all those smiles and corporate speak. Too many gaps in her story, too many questions. Predators don't get sloppy until they're hungry or scared. That night, I stopped being a bystander. I started copying system reports every time I clocked out. Just a quick USB stick into the old terminal at Register 1. Couple seconds to grab the daily transaction summaries and inventory logs. Boring numbers and codes, but honest ones. Those logs told stories. A shipment of frogs logged at 11:30 p.m. under Chloe's account. We close at 9. A lizard marked expired on her day off. 3 guinea pigs suddenly added to inventory on Monday morning with no scheduled delivery. I matched everything to my photos, created folders by date, highlighted discrepancies in yellow. By the second week, my laptop looked like a crime scene investigation. That's when I spotted the ghost shipments. Phantom deliveries logged after the fact. The system would show animals arriving that I never saw, then marked DOA days later. Rinse and repeat. It got stranger. A ball python marked never arrived suddenly appeared in a display tank. Wrong age, wrong price, but it had this heart-shaped spot that I'd photographed during the original delivery. Chloe had hidden it, then put it back into inventory later as new stock. I caught her red-handed one Thursday evening, pretended to clean the fish medication cabinet while she talked on her phone, inventory tablet tucked under her arm. No, I told you, I'll mark it DOA. It's fine. The vendor doesn't need to know. She saw me watching, smiled that fake smile. Everything okay, Mason? Just grabbing cleaning supplies, I said, played it cool. But that night, I downloaded the entire month of vendor entries and built a spreadsheet, put my notes side by side with the official logs. Dates, species, quantities, status changes. It was like watching a magic trick in reverse. Every misdirection became obvious. She was laundering animals. And worse, some of the fake entries were logged under my name from times I wasn't even working. Someone had been using my login credentials. That's when it stopped being a project and became war. I changed my password, started logging out religiously, made sure every timestamp was airtight, because Chloe wasn't just sloppy, she was calculated. And if she went down, she'd try to take anyone she could with her. But I had something she didn't. I had the truth, and I had patience. She wanted me gone? Good. Let her think she was winning while I built the trap. The pet trade operates on trust. Animals come in, animals go out. Things die. It happens. But there's a pattern to natural loss, and what I was seeing wasn't natural. It was systematic theft disguised as business as usual. 43 animals. That's how many I counted flagged lost or DOA under Chloe's login in just 21 days. Frogs, snakes, feeder rats, fish, even 2 ferrets that were alive Friday evening and magically expired by Monday morning. That's not bad luck. That's a business plan. I double-checked everything, cross-referenced shipments, pulled screenshots, found camera angles from our busted overhead security feed. Most employees didn't even know it worked anymore. It froze every 40 minutes, but I knew the pattern. Knew how to make it cough up footage if you fed it just right. I started compiling a full case file, color-coded folders labeled by week. I didn't just want suspicion, I wanted proof. I dug up the number of a former coworker, Paige Morrison, who used to run the reptile section. She trained me back when I still thought ball python was a sports team. She'd disappeared a few months after Chloe showed up at another store across the district. Word was she got written up for inventory discrepancies and quietly let go. So I called her. We hadn't talked in years, but when I said it's Mason from the Eastgate store, she didn't hesitate. I knew this call would come someday, she said, half laughing, half bitter. Let me guess. Inventory doesn't add up, and somehow your name's on it. I swallowed hard. Yes. Then she told me everything. Chloe had been doing this before. Different store, same playbook. She'd isolate experienced staff, get herself exclusive access to the inventory system, start running solo check-ins, and slowly chip away at the numbers. Small stuff first, feeder insects, bulk items, then higher value stock, then the blame game. She'd managed to walk away clean after the last location because Paige didn't have proof. Just gut feelings and bad timing. Corporate believed Chloe's glossy reports and concerns about staff accountability. I should have documented everything, Paige said, but I didn't think I'd need to. I was loyal, trusted the system. My grip on the phone tightened. I didn't trust the system. She exhaled. Good. Then don't just survive it, bury her in it. I hung up and got to work. No more sticky notes, no more journal jottings. I built spreadsheets, real ones, with formulas and conditional formatting and links to timestamp screenshots. I matched delivery logs to vendor invoices I'd found crumpled in the trash. Chloe wasn't even hiding the evidence well. She was just betting nobody would look. She was half right because most people won't look, but I'm not most people. I started syncing camera footage with system override logs. Every time Chloe made a change to inventory, I found the corresponding timestamp. And more than once, it was after hours. She'd stay to finish closing reports, but I had her on grainy footage scanning the same cage twice, then logging loss due to illness. At one point, I caught a frame where she was boxing up a leopard gecko that had already been marked dead 3 days prior. The little guy was clearly alive, tail flicking, tongue darting. She sealed the container, walked it out to the parking lot, and handed it off to some kid in a hatchback. No uniform, no ID, no receipt. I printed that frame, circled the gecko, labeled the vendor discrepancy in red ink, taped it inside my notebook like evidence in a murder case. By week's end, my case file was complete. I had system logs showing edits and overrides under her login, timestamps of animals marked dead that were visibly alive on camera, prints of Craigslist and Facebook posts matching missing animals, photos of actual shipments versus what got recorded, her own words recorded on my phone bragging to a breeder about fixing the books. I wasn't going to her boss. I wasn't going to HR. I was going to wait for the audit because this time I wasn't showing my hand early. I was going to let her deal the cards. The quarterly audit email hit at 9:15 a.m. on a Tuesday. Subject: Inventory Review, Randomized Schedule. This week. Chloe's face went white. She stood up so fast her chair slammed into the wall. "Team meeting now," she announced, slapping a flowchart on the break room whiteboard. 11 minutes of corporate word salad about operational excellence and maintaining standards during inspection. But the part that caught my attention: nobody adjusts inventory logs right now. Too risky. I'll handle everything myself for chain of custody. Of course she would. By noon, Chloe had commandeered both working tablets and barricaded herself in the back office. You could practically hear the digital shredding happening. I didn't panic. Just opened my encrypted files and kept organizing evidence. She didn't know I had raw CSV data from the POS terminal showing every override she'd made since February. Didn't know about the 40-plus screenshots of her logged in on days she wasn't scheduled. And she sure didn't know about the audio recordings. Little gems like her phone rants. Corporate doesn't audit if the numbers match the revenue. Mark it as shipping damage and poof, it's gone. They should thank me for saving money. The next morning, she beat the delivery truck by 45 minutes, saw her car running in the parking lot when I arrived. Through the office window, I watched her frantically typing on both tablets. Later that day, the required DOA reports started vanishing. The ones we're legally required to keep for every animal marked deceased or lost. Gone from the files, the cabinets, the digital logs. She wasn't cleaning house. She was torching the whole neighborhood. When I asked about the missing reports, she smiled too wide. Consolidated for the audit, cleaner presentation. That night, I emailed myself the complete dataset under a fake Gmail account and backed everything up to 2 USB drives. One stayed in my wallet, the other I duct taped under the turtle habitat. Unless the auditors were part reptile, nobody was crawling in there. Chloe spent the rest of the week spiraling. Voice getting higher, movements more frantic. Started refusing to let Parker do animal counts even though it was his job. Kept Logan busy in the stockroom organizing supplies that didn't need organizing. Every time a customer wanted to see a snake, she insisted on handling it personally. One woman wanted a basic python for her daughter. Chloe disappeared with the animal for 25 minutes. When she came back, her hands were shaking. "Decided not to sell that one," she said. Next day, that snake was marked deceased in the system. By Friday, everyone was nervous except me. I was smiling more than usual. "You doing okay, Mason?" Parker asked. "Never better," I said, and I meant it. The trap was set, and I could hear her breathing change every time corporate sent an email. Friday morning, 8:20 a.m. 3 people in business suits walked through our front door with badges and clipboards. No warning, no phone call. "We're here for the quarterly review." "Where's the manager?" Chloe practically materialized at the front counter. "Welcome! I've prepared all the documentation you'll need." The lead auditor, a guy named Camden Foster with a scar through his left eyebrow and a voice like distant thunder, held up his hand. "We'll pull our own numbers, thanks." Her smile flickered. For the first time in weeks, she looked afraid. They set up in the grooming room, cleared out the tables, replaced dog hair with laptops and scanners. 3 people in navy vests with inventory oversight stitched across the back like some kind of Justice League. Chloe brought them muffins. Ashley said, "Just wanted to welcome you properly." They didn't touch the muffins. Taylor Grant, the woman with the side braid, looked at the tray and said flatly, "We'll start with livestock count. Last 90 days, unassisted. Of course, let me grab the manifests." "We have them," Camden cut in. Silence. "We'd like a team member to assist," Taylor said. "Someone outside management." Logan was at lunch. Parker had vanished. That left me. I stepped forward. "I can help." Chloe's eyes went sharp, but she couldn't refuse, not with 3 auditors watching. We started in reptiles. The scanners buzzed rapid fire. Beep, beep, beep. Each sound hammering another nail. First red flag came quick. 10 dart frogs listed, Camden said, staring at his screen. "I count 4. Chloe coughed. "We had some DOAs. Amphibians are sensitive. Where's the mortality report?" I consolidated them for easier tracking. Taylor raised an eyebrow. "There should be individual entries with photos and signatures. In the fish section, it got worse. 12 koi listed, 6 present, 2 were visibly sick, no vendor." "Notation?" Camden asked. "Must have forgotten to upload it," Chloe stammered. "The vendor doesn't list koi in their catalog for the past 4 months." They looked at each other. Not confused, confirming. "In the small mammals section, 6 geckos on the manifest," Taylor said. "None present. Rescue pickup. Informal transfer. Policy prohibits informal transfers." We kept going. Each discrepancy hit like a hammer blow. Camden finally turned to Chloe and said quietly, "Ma'am, stop talking." She fell silent. I handed Taylor the last manifest I'd found. One Chloe claimed was shredded. It showed 2 juvenile boas marked DOA, both sitting healthy in a display tank 10 feet away, selling for $320 each. Taylor's finger stopped on the page. "This isn't clerical error. This is deliberate." That's when Parker returned with a stack of crumpled papers he'd found behind the dog shampoo. DOA slips, override logs, all in Chloe's handwriting. One dated a Sunday when we were closed. Another matching a chameleon I had photos of on Facebook Marketplace. Camden pulled up Chloe's system activity, filtered by her login, last 90 days. The screen filled with red flags. Lost, 2 geckos, $180 deceased, 3 ferrets, shipping stress, $615 vendor shortage, 4 snakes, $340 customer return, damaged iguana, $150 line after line, total $3,287. And that was just what showed up in the system. Chloe stood frozen in the corner, lips moving without sound. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. "She's lying. This is personal. Mason's been after me since day 1. He's disgruntled." Camden didn't blink. Taylor turned to me. I walked to my locker, pulled out the thick manila folder, and placed it on the table like evidence in a court case. "Thought you might need the shipping logs," I said, "and vendor receipts, time-stamped photos, audio recordings from the back room." Chloe flinched like I'd slapped her. Taylor opened the folder. Her eyes scanned the first page, a spreadsheet labeled System Overrides Feb-May with matching photos and transcripts. One read, March 15th, 7:45 p.m. Override entered for Python DOA. Surveillance shows subject transferring live Python to personal container. Below it, a grainy printout showing Chloe's wrist tattoo clearly visible as she handled a very much alive snake. "We need a few minutes," Taylor said. "Please wait in the office." "I'm the manager," Chloe whispered. "Not anymore." Camden's voice dropped to that final register that doesn't need volume. She shuffled toward the office like someone walking through a nightmare. At the door, she turned and pointed at me. "Everyone knows he's been targeting me. This is retaliation." I didn't look at her, just said calmly, "You signed every line." Camden looked at the totals again. $3,000 in fraudulent adjustments on a part-time manager's salary. That's not accounting error. That's theft. They called the regional director, Wyatt Coleman. He arrived with the kind of clipboard that means someone's getting fired and possibly arrested. Walked straight into the office with Chloe, shut the door. 15 minutes later, he came out alone. "Mason, could we talk?" I followed him in. Chloe was standing by the mini-fridge like gravity had stopped working. Her eyes darted between Wyatt and the evidence folder like she could make it disappear through willpower. Wyatt placed his hand on the folder. "We can call the police now, or you can explain this first." She started babbling about being framed, being targeted, but Wyatt just pointed to the ceiling camera. "We have footage, logs, your credentials, voice recordings. Do you know how rare it is for someone to document this thoroughly without making a single mistake?" He glanced at me. I focused on a coffee stain on the carpet, small and permanent like evidence. Chloe collapsed into the chair like her bones had given up. "Security's on the way," Wyatt said. "Stay in this office. Don't touch anything." 2 guards from the mall showed up 10 minutes later. They walked her out the back. She glanced at me once, like I owed her something. I didn't blink. Wyatt came back an hour later. "You saved us from a major problem. You documented everything perfectly. I'd like to offer you the assistant manager position. Full raise, benefits upgrade." I waited. Let him finish. "No," I said. "May I ask why?" I looked him straight in the eye. "Because 20 years has taught me that places like this only value people like me when we're preventing lawsuits." He nodded. Wasn't defensive, just tired. "I understand." I handed him my name tag and walked out the front doors for the last time. A customer stopped me in the parking lot. "Hey, weren't you the guy who got written up for that mouse thing?" She smiled, knowing. "They were wrong about you, weren't they?" I didn't say yes. Just smiled, started the engine, and drove away. Sometimes the best revenge is being right and having the patience to prove it.